Okay, part 4, complete the notes below, write one word only. Is there any number? No, just one word only. Maple syrup. Have you seen maple on Canadian flag? There is maple leaf on Canadian flag. How many of you want to go to Canada? Good. So when you reach Canada, you will find maple tree. Pick up a leaf from the maple tree, hold it in your hand, take your selfie, and then send that to me. Okay, yeah. Will you? Good. That's a good idea. It's Maple Leaf is the cement brand. Let's not do their marketing. Anyway, other cements are better. All right. So maple syrup. Now the syrup of that plant or whatever, we call it maple syrup. So start thinking about maple syrup and all that. What is maple syrup? Now listen, in part 4, you can get maximum correct answers. It's like part 1, but there is only one problem. In part 1, there is a dialogue. Two people are talking, conversation is easier, answers are easier. Part 4 is a lecture. There is one lecturer who is delivering a lecture. So that is why sometimes part 4 can be fast. I would not use the word fast. Part 4 can be fluent. Fluent means because there is no dialogue. When there is a dialogue, you have to listen to other person, then you answer, then you listen to other person. Conversation flows. But when there is one lecture, then the conversation doesn't flow between two people. So it can be fluent. And one more thing. For part 4, you guys need to learn signpost language. First of all, for example, additionally, furthermore, secondly, lastly, these words will be used and help you. Anyways, let's start. What is maple syrup? You guys can see there are 4 points. 2 points without questions and 2 points with questions. So audio will go from left. It's going to go. One thing is confusing here. I think they should have used 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we don't know whether they're going to come from top to bottom or from left to right. We don't know about that, okay? This is something confusing. But anyways, in the first point, underline the word sap. In the second point, underline the word cooking. Got it? Thank you, Numan. Thank you very much. In question number 31, underline the word color. Now listen, question number 31 is color described as, and it's very, very simple. Answer is going to be a color. Color described as silver. Color described as, it's going to be a color, and color of maple syrup. And if you have seen maple syrup, you know the color of it already. What is it? Absolutely. Okay. All right. So I play the audio and then we see whether it's going up to down and all that. Left, right.
You will hear a presentation by a food science student about the production of maple syrup.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to look at another natural food product, and that's maple syrup. What is this exactly? Well, maple syrup looks rather like clear honey, but it's not made by bees. It's produced from the plant fluid, or sap, inside the maple tree, and that makes maple syrup a very natural product. Maple syrup is a thick, golden, sweet-tasting liquid that can be bought in bottles or jars.
Thick, golden, and all that. So color described as. Now thick is not the color. Golden is the color. And by the way, this is the difference between gold and golden. Gold is metal. Golden is color. I play this one again.
You will hear a presentation.
In part 4, they also do one thing. For example, answer is golden. With golden, they will give you 3-4 extra words. And you will have to decide immediately that out of these 3 words, thick, golden, sweet, or something like that. Now let's see what are the extra words here.
By a food science student about the production of maple syrup.
Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to look at another natural food product, and that's maple syrup. What is this exactly? Well, maple syrup looks rather like clear honey, but it's not made by bees. It's produced from the plant fluid, or sap, inside the maple tree, and that makes maple syrup a very natural product. Maple syrup is a thick, golden, sweet-tasting liquid.
Thick, golden, sweet-tasting liquid. So color described as, now sweet and thick, they are not colors. Color is only golden. See that? There were 4 words, and out of 4 words, correct answer is golden. Let's go on. Question number 32. Very dash compared to refined sugar. Underline the word very. They are going to compare it with refined sugar. Refined sugar is that khand, chini. Alright, so that is refined sugar. So very dash compared to, for example, very expensive compared to refined sugar. Very tasty compared to refined sugar. Very something. Answer is going to be an adjective. What will be the answer? Adjective. And for very, they're going to use another word. I'll tell you because I didn't do it before, so I'm going to tell you.
It contains no preservatives or added ingredients, and it provides a healthy alternative to refined sugar.
It provides a healthy alternative to refined sugar. Very healthy compared to refined sugar. Healthy alternative to refined sugar. Answer is healthy. That's right. Okay, now you guys can see we have maple tree. And there is lot of information and how many questions? 1. In these type of situations, you are highly likely to miss the answer if you don't track the audio. Because after 32, you will come to 33. And in between, there will be audio going on and on and on and on. And when you listen to the audio and you're not writing, your mind is likely to go to sleep. And then the answer will come. When answer goes, then you will have this jolt. And by that time, you'll miss the answer. What's the solution? Very, very simple. Please come over here. First, you need to just underline some words. Second bullet point, underline cool nights. Found it? Yes. Third bullet point, underline 1964. On the right side, there is the bullet point moist soil. Underline moist soil. Got it? Now, let's see. Now we read question 33. We will read carefully. Other notes, we will only skim and underline the word. Don't read everything because they will give you 1 minute. In the beginning of part 4, they will give you 1 minute to read questions 31 to 40. Okay, so let's see. What is question number 33? Best growing conditions and dash are in Canada. 2 things. Number 1, growing condition. Second, now best growing conditions and dash. Now they will say another word that will come with growing conditions. And by the way, they will not use the word growing conditions directly. They might say the weather is quite agreeable for this, or the weather conditions are quite suitable to grow this plant. So best growing conditions, number 1, and for and, sometimes they use the word also. Sometimes they use the word additionally. Sometimes they use the word but also, right? So let's see what do they use. Anyways, best growing conditions, that is your first thing.
Let's just talk a bit about the maple tree itself, which is where maple syrup comes from. So, there are many species of maple tree, and they'll grow without fertilizer in areas where there's plenty of moisture in the soil. However, they'll only do this if another important criterion is fulfilled, which is that they must have full or partial sun exposure during the day and very cool nights. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. There are only certain parts of the world that provide all these conditions. One is Canada, and by that I mean all parts of Canada. And the other is the northeastern states of North America. In these areas, the climate suits the trees perfectly. In fact, Canada produces over 2/3 of the world's maple syrup, which is why the 5-pointed maple leaf is a Canadian symbol and has featured on the flag since 1964.
All right. You know, the most confusing thing is these bullet points are not in order. This is very, very confusing thing. And this is the latest book. They're trying to make it more complicated. They discuss this last option, 1964, in the end. And you see 3 options here, 2 options there. So they are going like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then the last one 5. Anyways, the correct answer, what is that? Yes, absolutely. Now see, this audio went on for around a minute. Now I'm going to play it again and I'll tell you which option is spoken of and where is that.
Let's just talk a bit about the maple tree itself, which is where maple syrup comes from. So, there are many species of maple tree.
Okay, that is first bullet point. There are many species of maple syrup, maple tree.
And they'll grow without fertilizer in areas where there's plenty of moisture in the soil.
Moisture in the soil, second one. One is on left, one is on right. That is second one, okay? Now they come to third, cool night, sunny days.
However, they'll only do this if another important criterion is fulfilled, which is that they must have full or partial sun exposure during the day and very cool nights.
Okay? Cold nights and all that. That is the second one from left. Now, after this.
And I'll talk more about that in a minute. There are only certain parts of the world that provide all these conditions.
There are only certain parts of the world which provide all these conditions. What are these conditions? Best growing conditions.
One is Canada. And by that, I mean all parts of Canada. And the other is the northeastern states of North America.
Okay, so northeastern states of North America, Canada and North America. Now listen carefully this thing.
In these areas, the climate suits the trees perfectly.
In these areas, the climate suits the trees perfectly. These areas, Canada and North America. And climate suits the tree perfectly. So answer is climate. Right. Okay, but this is confusing because of the order. I think they should have written A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3, 4 and all that. Now we go on to question number 34. Early maple sugar producers. Producers means who produce them. Early maple sugar producers made holes in the tree trunks. Underline holes or tree trunks. Second, used hot dash. Very, very simple. Hot something. Hot water, hot something to heat the sap. Sap is that comes out of the tree. Okay, so they used something hot, and for hot they can use the word warm or any other word. Whatever they say after hot or after the paraphrasing of hot, that will be your answer. And then they use the word bark, and then they use the word sweetened food. Okay, now I don't know what's going to be the order. Let's check. Question 34.
So, how did maple syrup production begin? Well, long before Europeans settled in these parts of the world, the indigenous communities had started producing maple sugar. They bored holes in the trunks of maple trees and used containers made of tree bark to collect the liquid sap as it poured out. As they were unable to keep the liquid for any length of time, they didn't have storage facilities in those days. They boiled the liquid by placing pieces of rock that had become scorching hot from the sun into the sap. They did this until it turned into sugar.
Okay, used hot. Alright, don't worry. Some were saying containers is the right answer. Container to point hai. Okay, listen now. The first thing, let me make it clear. The bullet points are going from left to right. Okay, so I'm playing the last part where there is the answer.
As they were unable to keep the liquid for any length of time, and used containers made of tree.
That containers is the second point, second bullet point on the right. Now come to third one. Used hot dash to heat the sap.
Bark to collect the liquid sap as it poured out. As they were unable to keep the liquid for any length of time, they didn't have storage facilities in those days. They boiled the liquid by placing pieces of rock.
They boiled the liquid by placing pieces of rock. Now listen next. By placing pieces of rock.
Liquid for any length of time. They didn't have storage facilities in those days. They boiled the liquid by placing pieces of rock that had become scorching hot from.
That are become scorching hot. That means rocks. Again the same thing as we started. That are become. So that are become means the rocks become scorching hot. हाँ? क्या कह रहे हैं? Alright, छोड़ दें इसको. Yeah. Okay, no, it's not that. Yeah. I'll play this thing once again.
Were unable to keep the liquid for any length of time. They didn't have storage facilities in those days. They boiled the liquid
They boiled the liquid. Now what's the challenge? How did they boil the liquid? Listen.
by placing pieces of rock
By placing pieces of rocks
that had become scorching hot from
that had become scorching hot. What have become scorching hot? Pieces of rock. Now you cannot write 3 words pieces of rock. Answer is rock. Yeah. Okay. This use the word pieces. When we use pieces, then we use singular after it. Pieces of rock. Yeah. Huh? Okay, listen. Now listen. Now I tell you. Both answers are correct. Why? Because if you write used hot rock to heat the sap, grammatically we are not violating any rule. If we write used hot rocks to heat the sap, even then we are not violating any grammar rule. So in this case, answer can be rock singular or it can be rocks plural. One thing. Second, when you go towards the answer key, in the answer key they have written rock and in bracket they have written S. That means that S is optional. Whether you write it or you don't write it, still your answer is correct. Whenever they give you anything in brackets, that is optional. You write it, good. If you don't write it, no problem. Okay? All right, thank you.